Hi, welcome to Ivy Brain, the talk show for entrepreneurs, where guest experts share their tips, tricks, and secret formula for success. Today, we're talking about the new banker. I'm your host, Irina Jadhav, and our guest expert today is the Senior Vice President and Chief Viking of Bridge Bank, Ed Lambert. Welcome to the show, Ed.
Hi, Irina. It's a pleasure to be here.
So the first time you told me that you'd been recruiting, fundraising, helping find rental apartments for your clients, it blew my mind. You should have been working on leases instead. So what is the new role of this banker?
The new role of a banker nowadays is actually a traditional role. When we were all growing up, traditionally, I used to joke that you have your wife, you have your priest, you have your doctor, and you have your banker. These are the people who know all of your secrets and who are there trying to help you in every way possible. I think what's kind of sad is that traditional role is now thought of as a non-traditional role. So it's not just about doing the banking, it's about solving any problem that diverts from focusing on growth. And the logic is simple. If you don't focus on growth, you don't grow.
Right.
And if you don't grow, you don't need services. And if you don't need services, the bank doesn't make as much money. So in helping you to grow, the bank is not only taking care of its obligation to you as a partner, but it's also helping you to grow enough so that you're going to need more services, and that's how the bank winds up making more money. And that formula actually applies at all stages of a company's growth, because if you look at even a public company, and certainly especially a startup company, I mean, you just don't have enough time in the day to do all the different things or solve all the different problems that you have in addition to the standard banking. So what we bring to the table is a willingness and ability to provide all those different solutions for you.
And it sounds like you're also dedicating people, because the only way you can actually help an entrepreneur with the recruiting and PR, etc., is because you've dedicated some people. Tell me a little bit about how are you building this people team and this relationship?
It's a great question. My favorite fortune cookie says, a wise man knows everything, but a brilliant man knows everyone. So what you do is you simply leverage your expertise in experts in all things. So in a sense, the entire world could be part of my network, especially in a virtual situation, which the world is becoming more and more virtual. So what that means is the more and more people who I know, the more and more potential solutions I have for you anywhere you are. Let me give you an example. I have a company that wants to locate to New York. Okay, and I know a great CFO for hire in New York who can use some additional clients. So I'm going to get those two together. Now you have instant CFO for hire, because I know that's one of the problems that this company has. But additionally, I also know some great recruiters from New York. I know some great VCs from New York. I know some great CPAs from New York. So if I know where it is that you want to go in the virtual, and because it's a virtual world, I can literally find you assistance on all those levels and still take care of you from the banking side. Because, we are a bank, so we like to take deposits in and we like to do loans. But again, as long as you've got the numbers in front of you, it's pretty simple after that to just be able to take care of those kinds of banking needs as well. So you've got a network of people within the bank who will act as relationship managers and also act in areas of expertise. But again, the way you're going to save time on the banking side is you call up your relationship manager, or you call me and you say, or you ping us, better yet, and you say, here's my problem. Now, go run your company. If it's a bank problem, I'll take care of it from the banking side. But if it isn't a bank problem, I'll still take care of it from the standpoint of my network.
Now, we know fundraising is a serious time sucker. How do you help with fundraising?
We help in a couple of ways. One is we help you, first of all, create a good enough executive summary so that people are going to be able to read it and get the point of what you're trying to say. Typically speaking, if you think it through, what you want to do is you want to be able to have a 2-minute pitch that gets people interested enough to want to know more, which leads to a 5-minute pitch, which leads to a 15-minute pitch, which leads to an overall longer meeting. So our initial weapon is a 2-page template that we put together that's come together, again, years and years and years of working with venture guys and gals, years and years of working with investors overall. And what we've done is we've consolidated everything down into 2 pages that deals with the overall heuristics of what your company does, who your team is, etc. So that's our first test is, do you know enough about your company?
Okay.
Are you comfortable enough with your company? And can you state your case clearly and concisely enough in 2 pages? Because let's be honest, this is the United States. We're the short attention span country.
Absolutely.
So you've got venture people that are looking at thousands and thousands of deals. So if you take ADD along with thousands and thousands of deals, you have to be able to make your point quickly.
Not to mention my golf game.
Not to mention your golf game. Not to mention their golf game.
Right, right.
Of course, I'm a Viking banker. I don't play golf. I ski.
Of course not.
So what that leads to then is it leads to the first set of heuristics for us. Can you do this? If you can, great. Then what we're going to do is we're going to figure out with you which are the best types of investors to talk to.
Okay.
And the reason why we do that is because that there's a kind of an implied covenant with the investor side, which is we have vetted the company.
Right.
So in other words, if we're going to bring the company over to them, we think they deserve a place at the head of the line. Because the great myth about investing is, okay, if I put it together myself and I send it out to people, they're going to get back to me. And the answer is no, they're not. Not unless you have other people working with you to get you to the head of the line. So we not only get you to the head of the line and get you involved with all of our investor contacts, but we actually give you the format with which to get it done in the first place.
And do you have a list of people that you work with? Is it a database of your own?
Yes, it's a database of our own, and it's also, it's not only, you know, in terms of a computer, it's also in terms of your own brain experience, and you say, okay, who do I think you would fit in with from the standpoint of your business itself, and also from the standpoint of your personality?
Of course.
Because we don't want to match you up with somebody who's not going to work out for you.
Of course. So you're playing the traditional matchmaker role.
We're playing the traditional matchmaker role, and all we're asking for in return is bank with us. So, of course, if you're a client, again, we're your partner. We're supposed to do this.
Right.
We're not supposed to be asking for something extra.
Right.
That, in effect, is what we're supposed to be doing for you.
Right. So as I am an entrepreneur and as I look for a banker, what would you say are the 3 or 4 things that I should be asking my banker to know that that's the right banker for me?
I would say the first thing is, okay, what are you going to do for me overall?
Beyond the numbers.
Beyond the numbers, okay? I know you can take in my money, okay?
Right.
But let's start with the numbers, okay? How are you going to react when something goes wrong? Okay, I mean, a monkey can do a loan when things are going well.
Right.
And as we saw in the bubble, monkeys did, and they paid for it. Okay, so the first thing you have to do is you have to ask your banker, how are you going to react when things get dicey? Okay, and they should be able to tell you specifically what kinds of resources they have available that will help you through those tough times. The second thing you have to ask them is you have to ask them what kinds of services overall they have and how that's going to help you be more efficient. Okay, because the last thing you want to have to do is to be able to have to spend too much time doing a lot of really boring kind of things. So, for example, let's take the New York example again. Okay, in a virtual world, how you make virtual work for you with a client that we would have in New York. Do we have branches in New York? No, we don't need them. Okay, because we have a state-of-the-art online banking system that's backed up by human capital of highly trained people, so that our guy in New York has an on-site machine he can use to make his deposits right there. Okay, so that saves him about an hour a day. And with our online banking system, he's got his PC in a wired-up world. He can basically do business anywhere in the world he is that's got a Wi-Fi capability, also including his BlackBerry. So it's not just about the idea of taking in the money. It's about making people more efficient. So the next thing you have to ask them is, okay, what are the other ways you're going to help me out? Okay, what kind of problems can you solve for me? So it could be something as esoteric as, how are you going to help me get the word out about my company?
How am I going to get the buzz?
How am I going to get the buzz out there?
How will I win some awards?
Precisely.
And I do have to give a little caveat. Mr. Lambert, dear friend of mine, was responsible for Conduit, where I was the Chief Marketing Officer, winning several awards, including myself. So I have experienced firsthand the miracle of having a great banker on hand.
In fact, that's probably a major factor as to why I'm your dear friend. I'm just kidding.
That is true. Very much so.
I'm just kidding. But if you take it to its next level, because the world is turning virtual, it also means that people are coming from all over the world. Okay? So let's take, for example, a company coming from overseas. So more often than not, companies coming overseas to come and play in our sandbox fail. Okay? And they don't fail because they've got a bad product. They fail because they don't know what they're getting into.
That's right. It's a different ecosystem here.
It's a completely different ecosystem. And so, and it's things that you don't see. Insurance regulations will kill you.
Right.
Okay? So we make sure you talk to the right insurance person who will take care of those things for you.
Okay.
It could be tax issues. So we know great tax CPAs. But let's get down even further, okay? You're a family man and you bring your family over. Okay? How are you going to make your wife not be homesick and your children adapt better? Well, this is America. You need a car. Okay? One of our clients is a car broker. So we had a client come over with his family and a number of people on his team from Australia. First thing we did was to make sure that they had the right housing, and we made sure that they had the right cars. Okay. Why? Because he doesn't want his family issues distracting him from being successful. And if he doesn't take care of those things, he will fail.
Absolutely.
At the most rudimentary level. But you know, the beauty of what I'm talking to you about, it doesn't take long. As in the time that I've talked about it, I can pick up my BlackBerry and take care of these things.
So it's all about the relationships.
It's all about the relationships. I mean,
that's what you bring. You bring that.
I'll give you an example. Today I'm talking with Bambi. Okay, and Bambi and I are talking about a couple of different things that we want to do. Okay, so in the course of the conversation, I sent out 2 emails to take care of the 2 subjects that we were talking about. Okay, because again, it isn't rocket science.
Right.
It's common sense.
Right.
But the problem with common sense, as Voltaire once said, is that it's not common. And that's the thing. And again, that's full circle. That's why this is really traditional common sense banking. It's not anything new. It's not anything particularly innovative in the sense of that. But again, you know, it's a simple common sense way of taking care of people's needs, which is the lost art.